The second panelist or speaker is Anshu, who over the last 22 years has taken civil participation to a different level. Goonj is a leading non-profit organization, and Anshu and the team are an amazing leaders, specifically in times of relief and rehabilitation. So the idea is to ask him, what does it mean for the society in these periods of time? And perhaps no better person than Anshu to tell how we can all participate in this sort of scenario which we are facing right now.
Yes, people are worried about their money. Yes, people are worried whether there will be, the business will be back or not. But let me start with the very simple story which I've been repeating in the last almost every session. Is the story of the tomato or the onion or the potato, right? And the story and the reality is that when I don't get it in my say next door market, or a tailor doesn't come and I'm not getting it, or it is too expensive and I'm not buying it, what matters for me is my taste and the way we used to cook. But if you just see the entire chain, right, from the last person who was actually the first person who was growing that tomato or onion, to the entire chain of wholesale, retail, truckers, loader, unloaders, and then the last person who was coming here and selling it, that entire chain is completely distorted. I think that's what we really need to understand. It's very easy to talk about the people who are stuck here. I remember the officer when we were talking, and the person said that no, Anshu, but we need to work with the people who are escaping. And I said, these people, these millions of people are not escaping. They're actually just trying to go somewhere so that they can survive. And there are enough dialogues which many of us have heard कि यदि हम वहाँ जाएंगे तो कम से कम अपनों के साथ में मरेंगे. That if we go there, we will at least die with our own people. Right? Why this disaster is completely different, and why it is important for every single person to really come up and do whatever best we can. In my lifetime, 21 years of Goonj and otherwise, this is first pan-India disaster. I have never seen such a disaster where almost every single person is affected. I have never seen a disaster which has created so much of distress. I've never seen a disaster in my life, because a lot of people compare it with the 1947 kind of stuff, when the country was divided, the kind of pictures which people saw, especially the elderly people or so I've never seen such kind of migration or the reverse migration in my life. I have never seen such kind of joblessness and people forced to sit idle in my life. I have never seen such kind of crops lying all across. I've never seen hundreds and thousands of trucks with material stuck on the road. In the last 2 decades, we have handled hundreds of disasters, these small, big, regular poverty winters to Kerala, Uttarakhand and all. And these were always limited to a particular geography, a particular region. So basically one part of the country was affected, and the other part of the country, which was much bigger than the affected part, was actually supporting and was trying to do something. If you see this disaster, I open my gate and I see someone suffering because of this. I do not open my gate and I think of my maid, driver, anyone who was working with us is suffering because of something. Also, this will also give us a chance to really relook at the life, relook at the way we have been treating people. And I'm repeating again, I must be telling it maybe 10th time on these kind of webinars and all, that somewhere it is also a chance to look back into the human part of it, the humanity part of it. Somewhere it is extremely important for us to accept that we have done something wrong, and that is why so much of trust deficit was there. I mean, imagine these millions of people who started walking in a minute or in a few minutes without even thinking how many kilometers they have to walk, whether they will get something to eat or not, how will they really carry their, aged parents or the kids or the fractured boy, and they started walking. That actually shows that somewhere, the business community, the governments, the institutions, the way we were operating, the contractors we were operating, the construction, guys were operating, somewhere it was absolutely wrong. And it's very complicated to accept it. Fine. I mean, I know that we have our own arrogance, we have our own nation, we can speak many languages, And that is why it's not easy to accept that there is something fundamentally I have done a mistake. But can I really ask myself that the person who has been working with me for years, even his parents used to work with us, the person who used to just iron my clothes on a daily basis, or my maid's relative, right? Or the person who made my house, or the person who was working in a construction site, and that person has really done so many times the construction work which I was handling. Suppose this is me, the person who was working in my shop, in my business, that person didn't even take a minute to run from here and then move out from here. So it's extremely important that we understand the human part of it in the change world which will happen post this disaster, and we don't know when is this post disaster phase will come. I mean, that's also that also makes it absolutely different from any other disaster. We all know that post disaster it is going to be an absolutely different change world. The way things are happening right now, especially the food situation, especially the survival situation. And I'll just give you a very small brief on it, and then we can open it up. So a whole lot of us are really worried about the people who are stuck at the border or who are stuck in the cities. So beautiful to see that how millions and or at least lakhs of people, in almost every city or villages have really come up and have done their wonderful job, especially the development sector and the people who are associated with that and many other sectors. The way we all have opened up, have taken risk also, and have tried our best to feed people. What we are not understanding that there is this larger part of the country which is called the village India, where the 70% population is still lives, and there is a sense of belonging. This is first time in our life when we saw such kind of huge reverse migration where every person was walking from the city to the village. No one was coming from the village to the city. This also, proves one of our theory and statement what we used to say that the slums are actually not the extension of the cities. Slums are the extension of the villages, and we saw that happening, and that is why people started going back. Believe me, I mean, it's extremely important for especially the community with which I'm talking today to really go deeper, think deeper, and understand that if we do not work in the villages of this country, if we do not make sure that people survive, if we make sure that the people who came to the city in distress went back in distress are not forced to come back in distress because there is something called humanity, uh, I think we will really have to change our approaches. For us at Gunj, and so it's a 2 decades old institution now, and we are about 1,000 people all across in the parts of 25 states and union territories. Till today, we have already activated our work in 17 states, and we have been able to do that because in the last 2 decades, we have been able to create a grid with the partner organization, community-based organization, government agencies, and all. And we just have to activate it. Let's understand that for the next few months, the larger issue for all of us is the issue of survival. Larger issue is also of hunger. It's extremely important that all of us make sure that we come out and we do whatever best we can, because there are very distressed news. If you see some of the reliable media source, not the fake one but the reliable, you must have read some stories from, say, right from Assam, of trafficking to someone drinking literally milk, from the road in I think Agra. It was there yesterday, and all kind of distress stories. And this is just the beginning of it. I'm just warning all of us that this is just the beginning of it, and that is the reason that it's extremely important that all of us really do whatever best we can. Our businesses, our work will only survive if the people in this country survive, and they survive well. I'll stop it here, Venkat, because I want to really answer queries from people.
I have picked up some questions which I'll go. There's one thing which I wanted to ask you, is that given that there is the state, there is the state as in the politics of it, then the bureaucracy, then the NGO, the business, and the people. How do you see who plays what role, and what kind of additional responsibility each one has to take? And specifically here, I guess it's more because the audience is somewhere in between. We are neither the NGO nor the state. what is the kind of role we must all play?
So, in my opinion, normally the NGOs and the citizens should always fill up the gaps. Okay, and there are lot of responsibilities which are primarily the responsibility of the state or the government, right? And all of us should just pitch in and see what gaps can we fill in. In this disaster, in many cases, of course, the citizens and the voluntary sector and the business sector has really taken up much larger roles and trying to do something. Also, because of the magnitude of the disaster, uh, and because it has almost affected every single citizen of the world, and let me talk about the country only. That is where there is no thin or thick line this time. I think, in my opinion, whosoever can do whatever must do. And let's not be worried about that if we give two kits to someone, it will be a duplication, because you are talking about hundreds and thousands of people where the survival is an issue. So there is no duplication. Fine. Even if you give 10 kg rice to someone, it is for next 6 days. And then after 6 days, you again need it. So we really, really have to trust each other a lot. We have to work with the system. And this is what in all my sessions, I'm really making an appeal to the government and to the police department and all, that they should really make it a bit easy for the conscious people to work, especially the development sector, the other sector people who really want to contribute. I mean, they should not at least, become a victim of a lathi somewhere. In some places, the agencies, the officials have really been very cooperative, because this is one disaster which one particular sector, whether it is government or non-government or business or health, this is one disaster where no single entity can handle it. I mean, that's what the larger concept is. Now, how do we do it? All of us have our own strengths. Fine. I think this is what I've been telling my large number of people who are associated with us, that why don't we just sit in isolation for say 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, and just understand and map our strength. I'm saying that even in this business community, who are in the middle of what you're saying, Venkat, even if someone is really, really a good singer, okay, someone is just a good mimicry artist, someone is just a good painter, to be honest, even those people are needed right now. Because what we need to understand, that after almost this 4, 5, 6 weeks of lockdown, and before and after that, we most of us are very lucky that we are staying in some so-called good houses or flats, or we still have a small garden space, or at least go back in our balcony. But the size of our balcony is mostly the size of the house of 6 to 8 people in this country. Then there is domestic violence, there are other kind of things. And as I'm saying again and again, because the liquor is also not available, that itself is, when it is available it creates problem, when it is not available it is again creating problems, that way. Now, whole lot of these people will come out with the distress. I mean, the fact remains that if the business sector, if the contractors, if whole lot of people who are employing people, including the government, if we all would have been a little bit careful in reassuring and assuring the citizens that your food is intact, I am 100% sure that large number of these people wouldn't have been walking and taking risk on the road. All of us need to find out our strength and then work on it. I mean, we have to go to that minute level of standing with each other. I mean, that's how I personally think about it. And also, it should not be just limited to giving to the big institutions in the country. It should actually, our giving should also happen to the smallest possible institutions. Anyone who is there at the grassroots level, anyone who's seen in the field and we trying to do something, we all just need to stand with those people. Anyone who is talking about caste, community, religion, I mean, there's no point in talking about all those nonsense here. This is just that this is the primary role for all of us, is that we citizens really survive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you say, Anshu, about all these things, I think about the numbers, right? It's mind boggling that about 420 odd million are really in, informal sector that comes to like 7 times the UK's population, and 120 million, 130 million people seasonally migrate. That's equivalent to like 2 United Kingdoms. So that's the scale of the problem, just in terms of, and it mind boggles to think they're all migrating back in terms of the reverse stuff, right? One of the questions which people have, somebody has asked here, is that I think I mean, I don't know how to evaluate it, but the question here is more like the Indian administrative service seems to have not had a disaster plan for itself. I know we've spoken it much before during the Latur, etc., the disaster management system. We were caught a little bit during tsunami. How do we make them accountable? Or is there something like a wake-up call? And how do we as citizens make them accountable in future? Or what does this mean for us?
So I think my sense in that, Venkat, is that earlier also there were enough wake up calls for us, fine, and some agencies improved on their work. I mean, Kerala is one of the big example right now, the way the state is handling this disaster, and few other states also, the way they are handling. Yes, I think the agencies need to be certainly accountable much more. I mean, to be honest, when we are appreciating the police guys, in a good way, many of them who are doing a wonderful job, the people who are really trashing everyone needs to be answerable, fine, and you just can't say कि वो गुस्से में थे or this guy was doing. I mean, people were walking silently on road, trying to go back to their place, fine, because they were not feeling secured in the cities. There was no reason to really trash them, bash them. So I think all these agencies need to be answerable for sure. I mean, and there were, as I'm repeating, there were enough chances with us to really learn through the disasters, because if you pick up last 10-15 years, almost every year there was one major disaster, that too when we are not calling the ongoing poverty or drought a disaster. Because drought, we don't even consider a disaster. And because of drought, these hundreds and thousands of people have committed suicide. So that way, the number of people who are killed in a flood or in a tsunami, because of drought, more people are killed in this country. And we do not consider that a disaster in any case. That doesn't, because you don't see on a daily basis the dead bodies, and farmer suicide has become a normal for us. Right? People walking on road has become a normal for us. Homeless people have become a normal for us. Unfortunately, the people who have any kind of resource, or the political system or the bureaucracy, we have our new normals in life, unfortunately.
I think there is a question which perhaps is questions of many other things of haves and have-nots, but I would say it in the way it's been put together. Half of the world is starving, half of the world is wanting to lose weight. Where is the gap with your experience, and what can be done to bridge this? I've been personally wanting to work with Gunj to give back to the society. I would say do go to the website, etc. I don't know who the person is, but it kind of have haves and have-nots, and how do you take that out?
So, I think all of us, again, as human beings, need to understand that how blessed we are. Okay. I mean, sitting in our comfort zone on our laptops with 24/7 internet. Most of us even have the support system, the mates and all, who are unfortunately now working 24/7 because we are stuck at home and we do need pawns and everything. And most of us have also realized that how less we need in our life. Right? I've been hearing from many friends a very beautiful dialogue from a friend which came कि भाई घर उतना ही बड़ा लेना चाहिए जिसमें झाड़ू लगा सके. We should only have the house where we have the courage to really sweep the floor. So I think it is a good big realization for all of us now that how much do we hoard, how much do we keep, and do we really have a right to become the have or have of this kind when we are not even able to take care of 5 people in our life, and if my press wala, my maid also leaves me, or my team, say suppose, leaves me, my jisko the larger world call them employees, if they do not even believe me for a day, they don't even call me up and say that do I walk or you will or I'm assured that my food is there, right? So somewhere I think it's extremely important for all of us to look into ourselves, all of us to look into ourselves. And I'm not a spiritual person, so I'm not coming with that spirituality kind of stuff, right? I am saying that I'm saying the virus has given a chance to look into ourselves now, and all these things that we have to stand for people and all that kind of thing. I mean, it's just that we have to stand with each other, because I mean, the fact remains that a large number of villages never got that kind of support from the cities, and they still survived. And we don't get onion and tomato and the government's change in this country because of that. And it is so ironical. Again, I'm coming back to the have and the have nots part, that our kitchens, our stores are full of rice and all kind of products and juices, right? Um, and the person who has been really growing it for years and decades at whatever cost of his life, that person is standing in the queue to get it from us. So somewhere something is really gone fundamentally wrong. And I'm not saying I'm a believer that people change, but again I'm repeating that a large number of disasters which many of us have seen. We have seen Kashmir floods, we have seen Uttarakhand floods, we've seen Kerala floods, and then Tamil Nadu floods. And then we saw that after 15 days or 20 days, for most of the builders, for most of the corporates, for most of the people, the life was, in a way, the way they wanted to live life was absolutely same. You still go back to Uttarakhand and you see those new construction coming up exactly at the riverbed. I don't know why do we think that we are so immune, with these things. So I don't know that whether the world wars have been able to change the behavior of people. I don't know whether the countries will really understand that more important for us is to put in money on the health system and the last mile people instead of buying weapons every day from each other. I don't know. I don't know who all have a vested interest in all those, but the fact remains that all those big buildings, all those, to be honest, the best possible religious places, all those, the big big sheds full of the most sophisticated weapons in any country could not save anyone in this disaster. And if I if I see India, the people or the institutions which were absolutely discarded. Look at every single government hospital, the public health centers, which were absolutely discarded, ignored. Look at the health budget of India, which has been always and always discarded. Look at the government school buildings, which no one wanted to take care. I mean, we didn't even take care of the proper toilets for those hundreds and few hundred kids. And if you see all these thousands of people who are going back to the villages are staying there in those buildings first and then moving to the villages. I'm even saying that look at Air India. All of us were so happy with the sandwich and ready to eat food in some other airlines and always used to curse Air India if it is half an hour late. Every single tough job in this particular disaster is actually taken care by the people of Air India and the airlines, like that. Look at the way people have been talking shit and useless things about the development sector and the NGO people that way, without any safety gear, without even handling a health disaster. See how these lakhs and lakhs of people who are running the voluntary sector or the NGOs and the people who have been trusting and working with them. I mean, each one of us, whosoever is working, I can guarantee you these 800 people whosoever are listening here, at least 70-80% must be associated with some NGO and doing it as of now. So every single institution every single individual which we didn't take care, the nurses, the doctors of the government hospital, these are the people, or the Safai Karamcharis, the people who used to do it. I saw a post today that even the courier industry is largely flat, but the Indian Postal Service is doing something good or trying to do something good. So I think this is something again I am telling you that to start valuing what we didn't value in the last so many years or decades of our life. And for Goonj, I think simple. You have already answered that Goonj.org or the Facebook page and the Twitter and all of Goonj has basic information. Uh, we do not upload a lot of stuff there because I think very important is to be there in the field and do as much as possible. So large number of volunteers, people, team is on job. Many centers are opened right now with absolute restrictions and regulations, and only the like Delhi center, which used to have almost 300 people, we are running it with about 20-25 people put together, all the mask making, napkin making and all that, but doing our bit as much as possible. So you can certainly join through website, through Facebook, through writing to mail@goon.org, and see what best you can do. And there are hundreds of very beautiful grassroots other institutions. This time don't even think that which institution you have to work. uh, Anything which you see, anything which you anyone who is there practically in the field and trying to take care of the hunger and the need of people, just stand with that institution. Very important part. And one bad story in this in the entire life should not really demotivate you to do nine good things. Okay, and even in normal life without this COVID, before this disaster, many of us used to cheat each other and we were often cheated by other people. So be ready that one or two bad incidents will happen, but that should not become a logic of not doing it. It's very simple. Rather, we have to do more and more.
Yeah, I think something which you touch, Anshu, and you've spoken about it before, the smaller organizations. In Bangalore, there are lots of these small organizations like Hasidrullah works with waste management. Then there are organizations which are collecting for specifically sex workers, and smaller institutions. They're probably taking care of the niche, the Safai Karmacharis are being taken care of. And you've been insisting that we just don't focus on a Give India or a Goonj, etc., but also look for these organizations because they also need attention. Maybe a little bit on that, and then there is one technical question. That's pretty much most of it, but yeah.
So what I'm saying is that you need to really you need to stand with the institution which are, or the organization, or the crazy people who are on ground. You have to deliver, fine. And this is also, we also need to understand one important part. Unlike any other disaster, the impact of this disaster is not going to get over. Even in other disaster, there has been a misconception. A lot of people think that after 15 days, 20 days, when you see some roads opening and the cities operating and some fast food joint opening, red lights working, you suddenly think that the life is normal. But we all know that Kerala, Uttarakhand, Kashmir, Chennai, people who are badly affected with those disasters are still affected, and they have not even come back to the normal, because disaster happens in the life of a financially weaker person, especially that person goes a few generations back. Fine, God forbid if something happens in our life, we lose something, but we again, because we have more resources or connect or opportunities to earn, so to bring back life, we do it much faster than those people. So do remember that this particular disaster will have a much larger, deeper, long-term impact. So it's not important that all the resources we really just finish up right now. We have to keep these resources for a long term to fight this battle, all of us, and have to generate more resources to do it. But any institution which is taking care of the survival part right now, in any part of the country, any institution which is also trying to reach out to the most ignored communities, and most ignored communities, when I say, think of these sex workers, think of the transgenders community, and these are the communities where they will not even come back to their normal job immediately. Fine, never. They're much longer than me coming back to my normal routine, you coming back to your normal routine. Think of thousands of workers in Assam and West Bengal or in many other parts. Think of tribals who used to do something where they used to sit on the roads of the city and used to work on it. So there are these lot of ignored communities. Think of a large number of HIV positive people there. Think of population which used to stand in front of All India Medical Institute at 4 o'clock in the morning to get a slip, and then used to get appointment for the next few days or whatever. Those people are there at their home and without medicines. That's what I'm saying, that it's a long battle, and stand with every single person who is courageous to something, who has taken an initiative, and even thousand. I remember, I'll give you a very simple example. Just a couple of places now. So when these people started walking back, there are hundreds and thousands of pregnant ladies also in that, and all these stresses and all, there are chances of delivery also that happen. And in one area, we found that in the last few days, some 14 deliveries have happened in that cluster of villages. And the only need of that area was that if someone can just take care of 1,000 rupees to pay to the medical, to the van, to the vehicle, not even a medical van, so that the lady can actually go to the hospital. Now imagine that 1,000 rupees, what does that 1,000 rupees really do in that particular situation? Out here, this 1,000 rupees will only say give ration for 10, 12, 13 days, which is extremely important. But if you do not reach out to those ignored communities also, that lady will not survive for sure. So, and most important part is that let us have trust on each other. Let us have trust on people who are on road and trying to do something. It's not easy to take permissions. It's not easy to take risk. It's not easy to take precautions in such kind of work. It's not easy to fight with your families and your parents and move out like a crazy person and try to do something. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud of the NGO sector and and the people who have trusted, who are associated with this sector, and hundreds and thousands of people who are standing and with NGO sector, without NGO sector, and have that courage to go out and do it. We take initiative, or we just support any initiative which is happening anywhere in the country. And I'm also saying that each one of us must call up 5, 10, 15 people. A lot of people are doing that also. And just whatever we can afford, just without asking any question, if you feel there's a need, just transfer the cash also. Why I'm saying that? Because you have to reduce the human touch, and there is desperation, and I remember this Shadipur depot, the Katputli colony in Delhi, and many other locations where we are working. We can tell you those stories, that the house is there, the kitchen is intact, the utensils are there. The only thing which is not there is rice and oil. Or all these centers in the country which are the centers for the old age people, for the cancer patients, for any kind of patients, for so-called destitutes, challenged people, they have this infrastructure intact, but the money is not there to buy ration. But can you imagine that in a few thousand rupees, 400, 300 people uh, can really survive for the next few days without any problem? So look at those gap areas, work on those gap areas. We are doing that in a very big way. I mean, Gunj has reached out to every single partner, every single friend, their references and all. With a large number of institutions, we are working. They are the eye, they are the hands, they are the delivery people for us, because they know those people, those issues much better than us. So we have absolutely decentralized the Gunj model, and we are working with. I mean, right from the sex workers to the Devdasis to the HIV positives across the country, wherever we find a vulnerable community and a committed guy to operate, we're there. We are trying to, with very limited resources. It's not that we have got a huge amount of money. And unfortunately, what happened is that the core strength of Gunj always used to happen a few crore rupees at the time of a big disaster, but a huge amount of material which we used to have it. This time the material is not coming, right? Because of all kind of restrictions. Although we have opened our centers for any kind of bulk purchases and bulk giving, and we are also opening it up beyond food, because, and that's again something which I would like to share here, that many of us are just thinking in terms of dal, chawal, and salt, right? What we are not understanding, the large number of people who have especially left the cities, they only went back with a small bag of some 2 pairs of cloth or whatever. So all these families have to resettle somewhere. So right from absolutely new clothing to undergarments to sanitary pads to tarpaulin to new set of utensils. To be honest, these millions of people have to redo their life, redo their houses. And in many cases, what we've been hearing, because people are not able to pay rents, some nice human beings are certainly taking care of it, and they're allowing their people not to pay rent, but large number of people are also distressed. And many of these people, if they are not even able to pay rent for the next month or two, many of these people will join the people on the road, and the peak heat is happening. So the need is immense. Be with the people who are doing it in any part of the country, small, big institution, it doesn't matter, but be with the people who are on the ground.
Anshu, there has been one question which has come up, like tangible things which we can do. I wanted to just step in and then ask you to answer this. I know a couple of my friends have been doing some really interesting work. They cannot go out. What I mean by interesting is because has got a background of working with large retail companies. So he's trying to make sure sure that he can bring all the procurements to St. Joseph's. So Diagar is the institution. So he's just a procurement manager for an institution he has never worked for. And so he's been able to do that while he also has his own startup. So that's one thing he's been doing. Some of them have taken the phone numbers which have come in PDF and converted that into Excel so that people can search for it easily. Some people have taken the Indira Canteen in Bangalore. They have these zip codes and pin codes and latitude, longitude, put that in the map so that you can search when you're driving. So people have done some small bits of work right from this, from their places and done, and some have been very useful. Also doing the last mile distribution, etc., coordinating. Some people have been collecting sanitary napkins, medicine, etc. So one of the questions is that, can you tell us 2 or 3 things which we can do as individuals in a little more instructive way? So,
for sure, start taking care of the people around you, and 10, 15, 20 people around you. Sit with yourself and make a list of every single possible contact of yourself. Your anyone you know on this earth, or your brother's relative, or your sister's relative, or your wife's husband relative. See the contact, that who are the people. Again, I'm going back to the, say, who are working in the retail chain, and there is a huge amount of dead inventory of toothpaste is lying there with them, which will expire in 3 months. Right? We all know that if any toothpaste is going to expire in 3 months, no retail chain can really now push it in the way they were pushing it, because the markets are open, and then people are also buying less in many areas, because so if all that inventory of anything on this earth can go to these people, that is something which all of us can do. And I can tell you that any one of us really sit here, we will find at least 50 contacts to whom we can talk about money, material, or something. Then I'm saying that map. The other thing is, first you map your own connect and context. Second, you map your skills and your strength, and start just putting it in public, that this is what I can do. I can really sing well. Can you just give me a chance where I can really sing for people? And I can tell you that there will be hundreds of groups who will come up with this idea of webinar or Zoom call, or your an old age home where you used to go and every day you used to spend some time in doing poetry. Now these guys will tell you that, okay, you will really work with them and say that this is how the Zoom call will happen, sitting at my home. I'll play guitar and you will really run it. And I'm telling you again and again that these are not small things right now. At the time when there is a lot of distress here, there's a lot of financial distress, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know how it'll unfold. Very important part is to be with each other, and very important part is to take care of the emotional well-being of all of us in the family and outside the family. Otherwise, the material and money is always, that is the easiest thing, and that in any case should happen in bulk. That is one thing. Physical participation outside your home needs to be very limited, until unless you are really sure about precautions and regulations and your health. 100% case you should not venture out, because this is a time when you just can't. This disaster cannot be handled with the emotions only. I mean, you really have to be very practical about it, and then with a lot of precautions, regulations, and all. Then only you venture out with proper passes and all that.
I think one of my friends who runs a Yakshagana school and has a lot of artists. So what she's done is she's doing classes because the students are not going to the class, and then she's earning a bit of money, and then she's taking that and transferring it back to the artists, because the artists have no place to work. So it's a very small section of Yakshagana artists in Karnataka, right? But they're not able to perform. So she's doing webinars, and she's never done it before. I think one of my friends who runs a Yakshagana school and has a lot of artists. So what she's done is she's doing classes because the students are not going to the class, and then she's earning a bit of money, and then she's taking that and transferring it back to the artists, because the artists have no place to work. So it's a very small section of Yakshagana artists in Karnataka, right? But they're not able to perform. So she's doing webinars, and she's never done it before. And she's doing for the first time Instagram stories. I've seen people doing poetry. There is a group which is doing a bit of theater and earning some money, also because they are artists themselves, but also taking a part and transferring it. So I think there is a lot of things people know. If you want to teach some physics and do courses or some coding, take some sessions, and maybe you enjoy it, and also you could make some little bit of money there and pass it on to someone, right? And we can come up with some creative things around
Yes,
that.
it's giving us a chance. It's giving us a lot of chance to really think creatively about yourself also, right? And how do we really think? How do we take ourselves? Because I'm an engineering grad and I'm a computer guy, so I can only do computer because that's what I've been doing for the last so many years. Or I'm in the call center, or I'm running a business, or I'm an investor. I'm just doing that. Suppose, but this is a good time because you're confined. You're saving a lot on your travels. You're saving a lot on eating out. So in any case, all of us are saving a lot of money. In any case, a lot of us are saving a lot of time which used to go on the road, and so it can be more constructive, more creative, for sure.
So the two technical questions, I guess that will be the real slightly technical one. One is that the money through Jan Dhan or the universal basic income, what is the take for you on those two things? Kind of related questions, Jan Dhan money and universal basic income.
So listen, all the government schemes are good if these are delivered well. Fine. I mean, so I think that's the only comment which all of us can make. We also need to understand that 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees for the family are not going to be good enough, but fine, it's a good start. Third, very important part which all of us need to understand, that a large number of people are not covered in these schemes. How many sex workers are really covered in these schemes? How many rickshaw police are covered in this scheme? And then if we see a very particular thing, that someone who stayed in, say, Delhi or Bangalore for last 8 years or 10 years, and the person has a Aadhaar card, and ration card, and all kind of things, right? And this person is migrated to some other state or the native state. Will that ration card be effective? How many people really are making use of that ration card that way? I mean, it would have been much easier that if we were prepared for something where, in any case, Aadhaar uh, is with everyone. If Aadhaar would have been able to decide who is BPL, who is APL, or whatever. But unfortunately, so far we are not ready with those systems. I don't think this country was no country was prepared, but we were absolutely not prepared to handle the larger population of this country in this disaster. Fine, many of us are moving out of home to have a birthday party or whatever. Right? I think we are largely going and violating the law for the fun part of it, or for the arrogance part of it. But a large number of people who are coming on roads, unfortunately, it's a question of hunger and survival and the way they used to live. I mean, how many of us? I mean, I've been remembering, the Mumbai footpath places, okay, where I've seen that how on the so-called first floor of a small shanty, people have to slide to sleep because there is no 6 feet space on the first floor of that thing. Many of us have seen, when you even go from the airport, you see a whole lot of those shanties. I can't imagine a family of 6 to 8 is staying 24 by 7 in that. I can't imagine that the same person, if that person starts sitting on the road, and that person will not be beaten up, because there is social norm, there is distancing, which is extremely important. So it's complicated. It's complicated in many ways, and I'm just hoping that these government schemes really work and they deliver well. It's good to know that country has enough food, enough food grains and all that, but I'm just hoping that it will be in the hands of people. It will be in the kitchens of people, so that at least no one dies of hunger. I mean, especially the people who have already walked a few hundred kilometers to the uncertain future, because they were uncertain here also about their future, about their present. I think none of them should at least die of hunger. And the larger population in the villages, where you have more people, less resources, are actually going to be the much more vulnerable, because even when the industries start, work starts, people who are left behind, they will still have some opportunity to earn something. But the people who have gone back to the villages, they have not gone there to earn. They had come from the villages to earn. So villages are not creating opportunities to earn in any case. So us really need to look beyond the city levels and the boundaries. Let's look at the farmers. Let's look at these hundreds of thousands of migrant people who have already gone back to the villages, and the life is going to be much more miserable there.
Yeah, Thank you, Anshu.